So today we're going to talk a little bit about appraisal. What exactly is an appraisal? Let's start there.
So it is an evaluation of your home's property by basically an independent contractor. So someone hired by the lender but not directly associated with us. They're their own company.
How is it that the appraiser determines the value?
So what they do is they look at comparable sales, market conditions, and they put together an analysis and come up with the value based on that, as opposed to going off the sales price of the property.
What can happen if the appraisal comes in lower?
So if it comes in lower in the industry, it's what's called an appraisal gap. So it's a gap between the actual value and the purchase price of the home. So in that case, as a lender, I would go back to the buyer and the realtor to see if they'd like to renegotiate, and maybe they can renegotiate the price back down. As you know, in this market, that's not really the case because it is a seller's market. So that's where we call it the appraisal gap, and it does have to be covered by someone. So the buyer will need to come up with the additional funds between the purchase price and the appraised value and essentially bring that additional money to closing, because the lender will not cover above the appraised value.
Okay, so that's it. That's all you're getting your loan for, is what the appraisal says. Now, if it comes back low, is there an opportunity for the buyer to rebuttal it?
So if it does come back low and both the realtor and the buyer maybe feel it isn't an accurate value and it's not true to what's happening, in the surrounding area in the current market, you can absolutely come back and rebut the appraiser and ask, if they have looked at all the comparables and see if something was missed. It can happen.
What happens if the appraiser values the home higher than the purchase price?
So at that point, you've already negotiated. So luckily, you get to buy the home for a great price, and you get to just take that as additional equity in your home. So that's a great thing.
So the appraisal that is essentially being done by the bank, that is the same thing as a home inspection?
So it's actually different. A lot of people think it's the same thing. The appraisal is really being done by the lender to assess the true value of the property and make sure the lender and the buyer are making, a good home buying decision. Where the inspection is for the buyer to find out the condition of the property. So it's usually done even before an appraisal is ordered. That way they can ensure that they do want to proceed with that property in its current condition.
Instances where the appraisal can come back with subject to certain items being done, does that happen frequently?
So that can happen. Sometimes an appraisal can be what we call subject to repairs. It does depend on the type of program you're in and the guidelines. The appraiser does have that in mind when they're going out and inspecting the property. And some programs are less strict than other programs. An example is peeling paint. One program could have an issue with peeling paint, and that might be a repair that the appraisal is subject to, which means it does need to be repaired and inspected prior to closing, where another product may not require that. But again, it's easy. It can be negotiated. The repair can be completed. The appraiser goes back and signs off on it, and then you're able to close.
So if I'm a buyer and I am looking at a property, but I know that my loan and my appraisal is not going to allow me to have peeling paint, would you suggest that I discuss with my realtor to see if those things can be taken care of prior to the appraiser even going out? Because do they charge the buyer a second time when they have to go back out?
There is an inspection fee, so there would be an additional charge, not as much as the appraisal, but for them going back out to the property. But absolutely, I would say, from our standpoint, as long as the work is completed and it is completed properly, so if that's something that the realtors negotiate, that the seller is willing to, fix that or repair that, and they would like us to hold off on the appraisal until the repairs have been done, because we know ahead of time they need to be done, absolutely, that's certainly something that we could do.
I'll see you again next Monday for Mortgage Monday. Bye, guys.
Bye.